Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Sports Wrap. I'm your host, Joe Wisniewski, and it's good to have you along for a new edition of Sports Wrap. It's been a while since we've been on the air, and we started to come out on today's air with some heavy-hitting action. On the show today with us is Bob DiChiero, president of the newly formed Bambino League. A lot of controversy surrounding with the exodus of a lot of coaches leaving Little League and going on with the new Bambino League. And as always, I shouldn't say as always, but Ed the FAA is becoming a regular here on Sports Wrap. And Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joseph.
And Bob, it's good to have you back. You're becoming a regular too. We've had you on for a couple of times.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
And a little bit later in the show, the FAA will be on the air with us as well to talk about the top five, whether there should be a top five or whether just to be the top three in Hudson County. The play of football in Hudson County has been down a little bit. We'll talk about the Bayonne Bees, the controversy surrounding John Rickard, and the relationship or strained relationship that other coaches may have with Rickard. And we'll also talk about the, during the summertime, you may have heard about the, with the Little League going on in Bayonne, Jersey City, or entire Hudson County, about the parents' participation, whether they should just remain in the stands or do they want to become coaches as well at the same time. So a lot going on, but the first issue that we want to address is with Bob DiChiero, who is the president of the newly formed Bambino League. And Bob, there's been a lot of talk about the new Bambino League going on. Everyone's read about it in the newspaper and so forth. The Little League people aren't happy with what's happening with this new league, and why is that?
Well, basically, I think they see it as a threat to them. I mean, in a nutshell. I mean, we didn't come out that way. I mean, we basically just wanted to start a new league. We were not happy with the organization down Little League, and we attempted, four of us got together and attempted to form a new program, run the way we think it should be run. And I think Little League sees it as a direct threat to them. And so therefore they've taken to tactics such as the ones we'll discuss, I'm sure.
Hey, Ed, I know you had written numerous articles regarding this scenario. I know you've spoken to Gene Klump, who is the president of the Bayonne Little League, and Rick Weimer, the commissioner. And what is your overall perception of what's happening?
First off, where is Gene Klump? Did you invite him on the show?
Ed, very good point. I'm glad you asked the question. Yes, I did speak to Mr. Gene Klump, the president of Little League, and I did speak to Rick Weimer, and neither one of them chose to come on the show. They pretty much said they did not want to legitimize the Bambino League, quote unquote.
Well, whether they want to legitimize it or not, it's here, and it's going to be here to stay.
Okay, well, Ed, I mean, you've spoken to Gene Klump and you've spoken to Mr. Weimer. Overall, what kind of feeling did you get from them? Did you get a feeling of sort of a resentment?
I never spoke to Mr. Weimer. I just spoke to Gene in his office. I go back with Gene 40-something years. I know Gene before he got involved in Little League, before he moved in Bayonne. He lived in Jersey City. But sometimes when you address a topic, you have to separate church from state. And you always got to know, you know full well as a reporter, you got to get both sides of the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're upset, but you know what? When you get four gentlemen with the credentials that Bobby and these other fellow coaches had, close to 65, 70 years of service time, and they just bolt from the organization, you know what? That's a dangerous warning sign. And the reason why is not the kids in the league. You know, Bayonne Little League is a tremendous little league. It's the best kept secret in Hudson County. It's the best kept secret in the state. I think that's one of the reasons over the acceptance. They never got outside to show their talent. They never get a chance to go to Williamsport or play in the state championship. Bayonne Little League or Youth League is without question the best feeder system in Hudson County. So, you know what? They wanted to break away from that. They're entitled to break away from that. And you know what? These people... you know, they should handle it like gentlemen.
Well, I don't think it's being handled that way, Bob. When we had talked about it, first of all, the gentlemen we're talking about are Jack Foley, Mike Masellis, Nick Brancatella, all coaches who have many decades of coaching experience at the Little League level, and they've all decided to jump ship and come aboard with the Bambino League. But, Bob, you had told me prior to us going on the air, you had some tactics involved with the Little League which tried to prevent you from getting involved with it. And why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, just ridiculous things like telling parents that we had no insurance, telling parents that there's no way they're ever going to get a place to play. You shouldn't sign up with them. Telling people that, the kids, there's no coverage. Again, with the insurance was the big deal. I mean, to really try and scare parents into signing kids up into our league, ridiculous. Political issues. I mean, they took it, and Falk covered it in his article. They made political threats. They basically wanted to make it a political issue, saying, you know, hey, look, if the city helps them out, then there's going to be problems. You know, we've got 700 kids in our program. Do you really want to help them out? They only have 300. I mean, really ridiculous things when the issue here is simply kids. You know?
Ed, I know in one of your stories you had your focal point of the story was it being a political issue and it affecting the mayoral race coming up this upcoming May. How strong of a statement is that?
Well, you know, the issue should be about kids, but unfortunately, it's not about kids when it reaches a certain level. And when you take a structured league, and then you want to have another structured league, and you're in one town, all these taxpayers are entitled to as many city services as they can. Right. So, you know, where is the mayor on all this? You know, with his secret meetings with different people. Is the mayor trying to appease people, or is he trying to take a tough stand and do the right thing? He has to get personally involved in this dispute. You know, he's the leader of this town. He's got to stand up to this issue and make a decision here. The people of Bayonne, whether you're with the Little League of Bayonne, have a right to use the city facilities, okay? The Bayonne Little League, and I understand that Gene Clump said they'll never use it over his dead body. Well, you know what? Legally, he doesn't have any more right to use that field than the Bambino League has of not using it, and vice versa. Right. These are city parks. You know, the city, you know, charges them for lights. This is incredible. The mayor has to step up and form a charter commission to oversee not only these two leagues, but the Babe Ruth League as well, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a complete sham.
Well, we have not made an attempt to reach Mayor Kicek. Normally when I do call him on the phone, we usually get him on the phone right away, and perhaps in our next showing we'll probably talk to the mayor and perhaps have him on the show. And Bob, I do know you did tell me that the city has been very receptive and has been helping you get along with the program. Yeah,
they've done what they can do. I mean, we've requested to have Fish Street Field as a home-based location. They told us at this time that wasn't possible. So
why wasn't it possible?
Well, that's, you know, I don't know the answers to that, but...
Well, the mayor has to start giving answers. He's got to quit passing the bread to baloney's coming here, okay? And it looks like he's siding towards a certain group. You know, it's not strength in numbers. It shouldn't be strength in numbers according to who pulls the ballot box. Right. It should be taking a stand and doing the right thing for all the... As far as I'm concerned, and I like Lenny Kicek. I really do. I have great respect for him. But they don't do enough for their youth programs in Bayonne, comparable to Jersey City and other towns such as size-wise as Bayonne. It's a disgrace that people got to pay for transportation to games, got to pay for bus drivers, got to pay for uniforms, got to pay for umpires. This is ridiculous. Is there a recreation department? Where's the recreation department? Just to pay the salaries of the people who are running it? Hey, I have great respect for the Bayonne Little League.
Sure.
Okay? And I'm sure Bobby did too.
Absolutely.
Because it wasn't about kids. It was about the administration, which is a closed-knit organization with more of a communist overtone, being that strong about it, that forced all these guys out there. It wasn't a voice of the people. And these are statements not from me, but from Bobby and these other guys.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation regarding the Little League versus the Bambino League right after this. We are back as we continue on with this exciting edition of Sports Wrap. My two guests in the studio again are Bob DiChiero, the president of the newly formed Bambino League, and the FAA of the Jersey Journal, and we continue on with the conversation with the new Bambino League versus the Little League, and it seems to be getting into a scenario of one versus the other. And the big question is, we talked about the Bambino League, where they're going to play. And Bob, is there ever going to be a day that's going to be coming where we'll see the Bambino League playing down at the Little League facilities?
I don't know about that, but that's, who knows? It could be. Why not? I mean, from what I understand, the Little League field is city-owned, and FAA would be able to verify that.
Well, before we get to the FAA, I mean, when we were off the air, you had said something about one of the coaches.
Oh, okay,
What did one of the coaches say?
One of the so-called clique that Mr. Ford was talking about mentioned to me before, he said before the Bambino League would ever play down there, he would personally get a bulldozer and rip the compound up before they ever played a game on, quote-unquote, my compound.
Ed, it seems like there's everyone's missing the point here. This is supposed to be for kids, and now these adults are fighting over everything.
Let me tell you something. If it was possible for the adults to fit into the Little League uniform, we'd be better served with the kids running the organization than the adults playing. Because somehow they just can't get rid of their youth.
And some of them have egos that they can't get rid of either. And, Bob, that is going to be a big question mark on where you're actually going to be able to get all your games in. I know you're looking at 5th Street, 11th Street, and 16th Street.
Yeah.
I mean, would you like to use the Little League facilities?
Not at this time, no. I mean, to be honest with you, we want to be totally separate from Little League, and I do want to say that, like Mr. Ford said, we respect the Little League, and there are dozens of great men down there that we respect and wish well. We've had great times down there. Little League is a good organization. But for the most part, we would like to be totally separate from them. And you know, we wouldn't want to play on their field. We want to play somewhere totally exclusive. We'd like to have our own compound. The city has told us that that's not possible at this point in time. But eventually, yes, we'd like to have our own Bambino compound, just like Jersey City does.
Absolutely. And let me reiterate. I have great respect for Gene Clump. He's a personal friend of mine. I'm not there. You know, I'm just trying to, I did the article, I got 2 sides of the story. But you know what? When the Brotherhood League plays and you turn the lights out at night, you don't charge anybody, and you invite a team, there's an entry fee, small entry fee into the league, and the team that won it the last 2 years is a team from Staten Island. You better have a lighted facility for the kids in your own town. I would think so. But then again, kids at the age of 13, 12 don't vote. Right, Mayor?
Well, we're going to have the mayor have a rebuttal on this because it'll only be fair. And again, I must mention
Get him on the show with me, Joe.
We might do that. I did speak to one of the coaches who departed from the Little League, Nick Brancatello, who has been coaching over at Little League for over almost close to 20 years, and he had told me that, quote-unquote, there was a blatant violation of rules. And, Bob, maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, if we had 2-3 hours, I could elaborate. I mean, it's just the basics are that this clique has done...
What do you mean by clique?
Well, there's a group. Listen, there's every organization...
Come on, Bob, just tell it the way it is. Quit pushing. Just
every organization has a certain clique, and that is what Mr. Farr talked about was the administration. Their administration does whatever they want to, no matter what, no matter whose say is involved.
So now, it's no longer a democratic society.
You're saying that Williamsport has one set of rules and there's another set of rules for Gene Clump and Weimer and all those guys.
There's a set of rules for the administration and what's good for them. And for years, there's been, like Nick said, there's been blatant violations of it. And you just get tired of it after a while. You know, and you just, there's no other thing to do but to get out and do your own thing.
I think it's a dumpy facility. I got to tell you, there's so much work that needs to be done there. That Little League should be a showcase, like West New York and North Bergen. A lot of work has to be done on that.
Well, I must say that, again, to reiterate, we did extend an invitation to Gene Clump, the president of the Little League, and Rick Weimer, the commissioner, to come on to the show, and we did mention that Bob DiCiccio would be on as well, and they chose not to come on.
What does it say if one group comes on, the other group doesn't?
Well, we'll let the viewers decide that, and we're going to put a questionnaire up on the show later on, and we'd like to hear your opinion about whether or not there should be a new league such as the Bambino League, which is in town. Aside from the Bambino League, we also, during the summertime, a lot of people heard about the participation of parents, and I know you wrote an article about it. And Bob, you know, we decided to keep you on for this segment here as we get a couple minutes before we wrap up the segment here. Ed, where does the line come with parents getting involved?
You made the decision to keep them on? Is that one-man committee? Joe, I never knew that you had such beautiful baby blue eyes.
Well, you know, it's the makeup that brings it out. Thank you very much.
How's your 1-800 service going, Joe?
Everything's doing really well. As a matter of fact, I'm releasing my Monday night Game of the Year.
What is it? Give it to me. Give it free to your customers.
Give it free to everybody. By the time they see the show.
Well, let's go.
We like the Patriots tonight.
Okay. Go out and bet the house on Denver.
Ed, getting back to the story we had talked about with parents, I mean, you had wrote about in the summertime a lot with the parents getting involved. Where does it end?
It never ends. It's never going to end. They kill you. They creep into their positions. Hey, there are great parents out there. And, you know, I just did an article on the Mom and Daddy Club at Prep. Whoa! You talk about getting singed. They fired off letters like rockets from Iraq, for crying out loud. But you know what? The shoe fits, wear it. They got to know their place. I tell you what, one of the worst rules I ever seen, invented, was the rule of adults coaching on the lines. I'm totally against it. Because there's so much pressure on the kid to begin with. Joe, look down at me. Get the sign. Don't be nervous, Joe. Put it in the box, Joe. Okay, calm down, relax. And these kids, it's crazy. The only freedom players got or get away from guys like me included, it's their yard. Once they cross the line, it's the beauty is I tell them, you're by yourself, fellas. Have a good time. But the parents they're out. They're horrible.
Now, Bob, you've been coaching at Little League for several years, and you've been involved with the Babe Ruth League and so forth. I mean, do you see where the parents step over the line on certain occasions?
Yeah, and it's like Voss said, it's the lower percentage, but the percentage that maybe 10% of the parents, even less. But yes, those 10%
Well, what
can
happened
be
to
brutal.
you? What happened to you? Here's a guy that's coaching in Union City, and you have a parent come down, right? And whether he wants to admit it or not, he berates the guy right in front of the team and stuff like that. So what happened? The kid finally makes the decision to leave the team. There's no guarantee to playing time. You know, but when you go in there, everyone's an equal. But when you go in there, it's a great quote from Vinny Eskies last week. 4 of his kids went down. It was crunch time, and he had to put in new kids. He said, the only thing that changes, I tell the kids, is the number on your jersey.
Right.
That's the only thing that changes. We expect the same level of play.
Ed, it's gone beyond arguments. I mean, we've seen fistfights and people get arrested.
And it's arrested. Sure, they've been arrested. Every municipality in Hudson County has them. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of birds who fly over the cuckoo's nest in Bayonne. Let me tell you something. Guys who just put them in, as long as their son's in the lineup, and then they leave the league. We're talking about their Bambino League, that 75 years of service, so you know what?
Well, we can talk about the Bambino League for hours and hours, but I think we've made our point across. Bob, we'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Ed, you and I are going to continue our conversation. We're going to talk about some stuff happening at Bayonne
It's
High
going to be
School.
real thrilling, one-on-one with you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're going to take a break. We come back. We'll continue the conversation right after this.